collector friends and Doctor Who fans alike. This is the Time Travelling Toy Collector. Welcome back to the channel, and this is the second entry into the Hero Collector Time Lord Victorious range as part of the Doctor Who figurine collection. So as some of you may be aware already, I'm not a fan of nor a collector of the Doctor Who figurine collection en masse, but Eagle Moss and Hero Collector recently had a special offer available. I pounced upon it, and as a result of that picked up a few of their Dalek products, which for those who've been following some of my Hero Collector reviews will know that I'm far more taken with the quality of the detailing and the paintwork and such like for their non-humanoid figurines. The vast majority tend to be humanoid-ish and they're not quite so great, so I don't really tend to invest in that for myself. I know other people very much do. Similarly for these, there are the occasional paint bleeds and the occasional errors, but for the price point, the scale, etc., I'm generally quite pleased with what I get my hands on. This, as I've said, is the second entry, as you can see here from the side of the box, for their Time Lord Victorious special edition range that was produced to accompany the multi-platform storyline of the Time Lord Victorious, which was inserted as part of the 10th Doctor's run retrospectively, and featured some comic, some live action interactivity events, as well as some novels, some comic book stuff, and of course the figurines. So I've started it this side purely because here's the actual reverse of the box, and you can see the two figures in art form there. The Daleks that feature in this particular range had their own animated series, which was on the BBC's YouTube channel, and I believe is still there, so you could go ahead and watch that. Again, like most of the Eagle Moss and Hero Collector model ranges, it comes very well packaged, and it comes with a magazine, which we shall unearth shortly. But I've unusually chosen to start on the back because I wanted to show you this. Now, I'm yet to get to the bottom of it, but I don't think I've actually got an international version here. I think I've got one, and they may all be like this. I don't, as I say, I don't know. I'll have a look. But all I can say is, oops. The mini biographies of the Dalek Scientist and of the Dalek Time Commander, yeah, they seem to have left it in the traditional Latin, which I think is used as a placeholder for text whilst you're waiting to get the text through. So I don't know if they correct this on other versions of this, or whether they all went out like this, but it just amused me a bit, because I thought, that's a little bit of a nuisance. But other than that, those are the illustrated versions of the figures. A little bit of background of the series itself here, and so yes, let's swap round to the main event. Time Lord Victorious, it's the Dalek Scientist and the Dalek Time Commander. It's quite reflective here today, so I'm just going to try and give you a full sight of the box in question without giving you too much glare. So we'll go straight for a bit of a close-up before we open it up. And there is the Dalek Scientist figure, which we'll have a closer look at in a second, and the Dalek Time Commander over here. Yeah, very, very nice paints from what we can see. Now, one of the wonderful things with this is, and I'll talk as I unbox, I've already cut the, cut the cord, but I've already cut the tape to make this a little bit more palatable and less time consuming. Let's extract everything that we can from there. We'll put this, I'll actually turn it the other way around for the purposes of backdroppage. So first up, we get the magazine. As we know, it's a nice glossy magazine. It's kept wrapped up. A little note there to remind me not to stick my head inside it, because it will prevent me from breathing, which would be an unfortunate outcome that I had not anticipated starting the day with. Now, from last time, those who know, the magazine opens out like this to give us a full colour piece of artwork of the two characters side by side. However, the magazine itself does offer, which way is the right way up, here we go, does actually operate like this. So it's not a magazine that's folded in half, that's its natural gatefold there. So we go into it this way. So again, a bit of a briefing around the Dalek Time Commanders with some very nice illustrations there. Similarly, well, I mean, you can see here just how packed. I know I was gonna sort of zip through it, and to all intents and purposes I will. But there's some of the Daleks of old that we may or may not see in the animated series and the TV series. There's some blending of classic Doctor Who stills from various points through its own series and different types of Daleks. So again, it's a small magazine, but there's a lot crammed into it. So top marks to, there's a Dalek Saucer with lots of nice, interesting detail. There's a lot in here, you know, it's not just a sort of crammed together, thrown together thing. This is a very well put together piece of work to support the main element of the product, which is the figurines. But nevertheless, from my point of view, I think the magazine is every bit a core part of this production. And I also like some of the retro artwork as well. So top marks for the magazine. I heartily recommend, if you get a chance to pick this up, grab one of them, and you can also then maybe I'll put it the other way actually. You can also then have a good read through of that, much like I shall be doing a little bit later. Right, so on to the main event itself. Now again, for those of you who've been following some of these other reviews, I have been leaving the Daleks and similar figurines inside their packaging. A, because it makes it easier for me to sort of rotate it in close up without having my elephantine fingers get in the way. But also it gives you a chance to have a really good look at the figures uninterrupted, almost. Similarly, it's very, very nice way of keeping them dust free and pet hair free, and etc, etc. The packaging, all in all, allows for quite a nice display option. There's no diorama. I almost feel like that we benefit from some sort of diorama being in the box, but there isn't. So with careful placing of the magazine, when I put it all back together again, it may well be that we're able to create a nice little presentation piece that way. But failing that, it looks pretty nifty as it is. Also, some of you may be aware that I recently acquired the Dalek Parliament set from Hero Collector as well, as part of some of their special offers. So at some point I may look to traipse all of these out of their respective packaging and see how they look and how they play together outside of their little plastic universes, even if it is just temporarily for a video and some photos. But they're very, very beautifully detailed. I'm having a sneaky look around now. We can see here on the base, not so much on the Scientist side, but we can see over here on the Dalek Time Commander that his or her, depending on how the mutant inside identifies, propulsion system is detailed in a blue hue there. There we go, that's nicer. You can see that much more clearly. In a blue hue that represents some of the blue tinting that appears around the sense globes there. So that's very, very nice to see. And it's they are there on the Scientist, but they're just pulled out in the black. You can't actually see them because they've not been given separate detailing. So that's a nice little point, and something they didn't actually have to do, but do it they did. So let's take these figures. I'm just going to rotate it round again so we can get a nice look. And we're going to go close into the Dalek Time Commander here. So, yeah, I'm just trying to get a glimpse of some of that paintwork. There's an interesting angle to this because some of the other Dalek models that I've looked at, I've had a bit of a moan because of the quality of the paintwork and the bleed, etc, etc. But from the point of view of this one, I kind of get, and same with the Scientist too, to be fair, there is an element of pre-written into its history and its story, that it is battle damage. These are Daleks fighting for survival as part of their storyline in the animated series, as I mentioned, that the BBC released onto YouTube. So actually the fact that they are a little bit woebegone and a little bit battered and a little bit poor around the paint job is kind of in keeping with their storyline. So actually I'm looking particularly at what at first glance may be deemed to be quite shoddy paintwork around the spheres, but actually may not be. It may actually be a deliberate attempt to give us that sense of weathering and that sense of age, and battle damage and battle weariness that that certainly the Daleks appearing in this animated series would have experienced. There is, yes, a bit of bleed around the lower portion of the skirt into the bumper area, but again, you know, there is an argument to be said that that's part of its charm, given that it has survived so much. It has a standard manipulator arm and gun stick, although the gun stick has a black tip to it, which is nice. They are otherwise pulled out very nicely with silver metallic paint. Black details on sort of the ball joint element of the of both of the arms, and the black tip for the manipulator arm there. The iris of the Time Commander is pulled out in blue, and actually the illuminating ear stalk things that are actually voice related in terms of their illumination, they're also quite good. That's not always been the case with some of the Daleks I've looked at recently, but here they are particularly good. So yep, we like that. We'll move down the line a little bit to another another case of some interestingly inconsistent paintwork on the Dalek Scientist figure. This one has a beautiful combination of the sort of standard gun colour shell of the Dalek, pulled out and really popping against the red, which automatically also pops against the grey, but then also some really lovely black highlighting, some of it around the rivets on the manipulator arms and the gun there, but there's also some black detailing around the shoulder sections and the slats on the shoulder sections, and most notably around those the sense globes that are on its lower skirt. There's some really, actually, if you look very closely, you can see that there's almost cog-like effects around some of these, or armoured effects. So you've got different types of sense globes on the skirt. So again, the inconsistency of the paintwork around that lower part of the figure is very much a part of the figure, rather than something you might attribute to poor quality assurance in terms of Eaglemoss and a Hero Collector's work. Again, there is some bleed. I don't want to keep fading in and out of zoom. There is some bleed around the skirt there, but as with any of these models, they are I'm told hand painted. So some slippage around the paint is to be expected, I suppose, when you're dealing with this level of scale and indeed this level of price point. And again, it is an indicative and evocative figure rather than a close-up study. Although going close-up on the manipulator arm here, you can see that the Scientist, if I can get it to just focus in an appropriate fashion, there we are, that's an angle. The Scientist there has a very clearly defined claw arm, and it's beautifully pulled out in what appears to be almost a burnt combination of black and red. So he's obviously had his fingers in a Bunsen burner for a little bit longer than he should have done. The silver, black and red detailing on this figure is really excellent. The pupil is again pulled out on the eye stalk with a hint of blue in that black end piece. The silver discs are pulled out nicely. The odd rivet here and there is pulled out. You can see that there. it's it's a really lovely piece. And for all that it might look a bit blotchy, it's actually very convincingly done. And I'm a particular fan, I must say, of that particular arrangement of paints and paint work. And it is true to the animated, I'll pull that magazine back in again for a second there, for its animated source material. You can see there just how well they do, and they do make a point on the animation that the blue is around the bases of those globes, and it is not consistent. Just to look at the commander there, and you can see the inconsistencies and the different design around those globes. Very interesting design, actually. I look forward to reading a bit more about the nature of that design and why it is how it is, but they certainly have pulled it off. So for these quite unique Dalek casts, they have done it an awful lot of justice, I would have to say. One can't not be impressed. And given this was probably quite a risky range, I dare say I remember when the Time Lord Victorious range was announced, and indeed the whole multi-platform storytelling approach was announced, it wasn't necessarily particularly well received across all quarters. So again, I think it may have been a bit of a risk to even produce these at all. So because they may very well not have sold in the way that perhaps they need or would have hoped that they would. So let me just park them there and zoom in a little there, so we can get a nice close look at this second set. Yeah, so in summary, I think these, again, they're about 7.5, 8 centimeters in height. They are really very well pulled together pieces. Some of it may be borrowed from pre-existing molds, and I think that's totally understandable. And also a Dalek looks like a Dalek looks like a Dalek, but they have also made some key adjustments to those molds in order to get it Time Lord Victorious accurate. And so again, much like some of the other slightly more unique Dalek designs, these do work particularly well. Again, would I want to collect the entire figurine collection on the back of this? No, I wouldn't, because it's not for me. But this limited range, along with the Dalek Parliament ranges, yeah, those I can get on board with. I can buy into those quite well. I'm quite enamoured and taken with them, and I think they will lend themselves to some quite good photography in the fullness of time. As I say, once I've done possibly looked through all of the different Daleks that have come as part of this offer I was able to key into, then yes, I might actually risk taking them out of their packaging and trying to do some photography with them, and I may even do a follow-up video of them all properly unboxed, just so you can see what they're like, free of the because I do appreciate that for all it gives me some mobility of manoeuvring the figures around, and gives you sort of a 360 view. Part of that 360 view is hampered by reflections and the way the plastic is additionally bubbly. So I get that. So yeah, I might well do that, looking to the future, because they can be reboxed. That's the beauty of these, is you can reseal the plastic and keep them safe once you have, should you wish to remove them. So yeah, I'm probably going to leave it there. I'm very, as I've already hopefully conveyed, quite taken with these. The question around whether I tend to ask is whether or not you feel that the Time Lord Victorious Daleks have a place in your own personal collection of Doctor Who memorabilia or Dalek memorabilia. Again, that's really one for you to decide. Personally, I'm glad I've picked them up. Would I have picked them up had the offer not been running? I probably wouldn't have, if I'm being honest with you, but that's more to do with my own personal interests and tastes. So it's not a reflection per se on the collection or those collecting it. That said, as I've mentioned before, Hero Collector and Eagle Moss do frequently offer some very, very good discounts and some special offers. And once you're a customer, if you give them feedback, there's also special offers that tend to come your way. So it is worth having a look around their site and seeing the various different ranges they do. They've expanded it quite considerably. There's a horror range, there's Battlestar Galactica, there's The Expanse, on top of Doctor Who and Star Trek, and lots of stuff. So do give them a look. There is something, I say there's almost something for everyone. Your tastes notwithstanding. Anyway, I hope this has been of some interest. If it has, please do hit the like button. You may or may not have been able to make your mind up yourselves as to whether they belong in your collection, and I really hope I've contributed to that. If you're watching this and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do. It's absolutely free to do so, and it costs you nothing but a quick click. And whilst you're doing a quick click, you may as well turn on notifications so that you never miss an upcoming video that may be of interest to you. Thanks so much for sticking with me for the last 22 minutes or so. I've been the Time Travelling Toy Collector. You have been an outstanding audience, and this has been the Dalek Scientist and the Dalek Time Commander from the Hero Collector / BBC Time Lord Victorious range, particularly the Daleks animated series aspect of that multi-platform story. Until the next time, try not to keep trying to keep getting exterminated, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Remember, a thing of beauty really is a toy forever. Take care.